Our next section is a shorter section, and it's going to be called Talk Nerdy to Me, Using Your Interests to Advising Connections. And our presenters are Tara Robbins from West Virginia University, Heather Brooks, and Megan Russell from Marshall University.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So, thanks for joining us today. Our presentation is called Talk Nerdy to Me, Using Your Interests to Make Authentic Advising Connections. And I'm going to let my co-presenters go ahead and introduce themselves.
I'll go next. Good morning. My name is Heather Brooks, and I am the academic advisor in the Honors College.
And my name is Tara Robbins, and I have worked at WVU since 2007. I've earned both my master's and my bachelor's degrees at WVU. And in July of 2022, I started a full-time advising position in the Department of Geology and Geography.
And I'm Megan Russell. I'm the Director of Student Progressions at the Marshall University School of Pharmacy. I'm responsible for advising our PharmD students, but also for advising our Bachelor's of Science in Pharmaceutical Sciences students. And I have been in higher ed for about 15 years, but advising I switched over to about 4 years ago. So Tara's going to start us off today, and I'm going to go over our objectives with you real quickly before she goes. So when we were putting together this presentation, there were a few things that we wanted to make sure that we touched on, and those are recognizing the role and value of authenticity in effective advising relationships. We also wanted you to learn how personal interest can serve as bridges to student connection. Also, understanding how embracing authenticity in advising can be a form of self-care, and exploring strategies for integrating authenticity into advising and mentoring. So Tara, like I said, is going to start us out.
All right. So when I started in geology and geography, we had undergone an academic transformation process. So we have 2 new majors instead of our 3 previous majors, and those are being sunset. I advised about 120 total students. And so I had some extreme challenges when I started this role. I had to build rapport with the current students, had to overcome misinformation, and had to quell some of their misconceptions about advising. So my goal here is for you to take at least 1 or 2 implementable strategies that you can use in your own advising situation to help you build rapport. And I will share a toolkit at the very end of our presentation in the chat for you so you can refer to it. I'm going to go through things rather quickly, so don't feel like you're going to miss anything. It's all in the toolkit. I'm also happy to help you think about some of these processes as it pertains to your institution and your specific situation. So if you need me, my contact information will be on one of the last slides here. Okay, so the easiest thing for you to do and the quickest thing is to make your desk space lively. So you can see some of my pictures here, things that students will like to play with, fidget toys. I have a collection of rocks in that very first picture there. I'm in geology and geography, so rocks, hello. But another thing that students really, really like, and guests, of course, is candy. They love a candy dish. So if you can get a candy dish, put some candy or snacks, granola bars on your desk. So the next thing that I did when I first started was create a digital advisee file. So I pulled photos using Navigate and made flashcards for all of my students. So I would go through those periodically, looking at the name to try and remember the face and vice versa. This also helped with walk-ins. So when students walk in, I always try and greet them by name. Don't always get it right, but by and large, I get it right. And if I see them in the hall, I can also greet them by name. I make sure to ask them to correct me if I get it wrong. Sometimes I still do. But at my desk, I hold open walk-ins. So if I'm at my desk, I'm fair game. I don't have specific days, but I also have an office that's in the main space. So it's shared. It's not a totally closed space. We advise in a different space. So my digital files, I also have an Excel file for all my majors and minors, and that helps me send out birthday cards. So that's another thing that's pretty easy to implement. I also included time to complete these, like estimated time to complete these things on the toolkit. So on the birthday cards, I just send one every time it's a student's birthday. I'll send out a digital card. I actually schedule them to be sent. So I create one card per year. All right. So for advising appointments, some things that I like to do here is to allow your students to choose the appointment mode. So whether they want to meet virtually or in person, I let them decide. I also give them, during our first meeting, I try and get to know them a little bit. I ask about their favorite class, their high school class, family, pets. I make notes so that are not put onto degree works because it's not a curriculum thing. So I always try and ask in follow-up appointments how those people or pets are doing. I also ask them to share pictures because I love to see pictures of their pets. Some things I like to do ahead of time is prepare for those appointments well ahead of time. I will look at classes and come up with a plan, but I don't dictate what they take. I ask them to do the same thing, plan their classes. And then when they bring that list, or they don't, sometimes most of them do not plan ahead, but we try and have a discussion about what they want to take, why they want to take it, and why it's good for them. Some of you may not have that flexibility, but that's okay. Just ask them to go through their degree works or their records and see what classes they need to take. So I also like here I learned this at a previous advising conference, I think it was last year's, hand out snacks and drinks and tchotchkes, stickers, whatever it is. Give them something while you're at the advising appointment. Whether or not they take advantage of it, okay, that's fine. But a lot of times they'll take a bottle of water or they'll take a bag of chips, and maybe that's the only thing they've eaten for that day. So I try and always do that. I talk about midterm grades. I give them a woohoo. Even if they're not doing super great in all of their classes, I still try to encourage them. And then we have a discussion about classes they may not be doing so well in. I provide them I provide them resources. I say, okay, here's some tutoring centers, and we look that up online so they can see what exists for them. I also try and follow up at the end of the appointment about internships, post-graduation plans, etc. Okay, so some things that you can involve your faculty in, if you'll go, thank you. You can involve your faculty in all of these things. So we send out congratulations cards to our graduating seniors and our graduate students. Again, I'm in the main office, so I don't advise grad students, but I just do congratulation cards for all of them. So we do handwritten cards. We get all faculty and staff to sign them, regardless of whether or not they have taught that person. They may have met them in passing. It really makes a huge difference. So your faculty are involved here. Another thing I like to do is post student successes on LinkedIn, exciting events that are happening or have happened, use pictures. Faculty can send you awesome things to put on LinkedIn. Some departments across campus put a student of the week or a highlighted student or a highlighted graduate. Another thing that we do is send out weekly emails. So all of our students, regardless of their major, I again have 5 different majors, and we send out one weekly email with job notices, internships, events happening around campus, any kind of information you want them to get, much like those from the first presentation mentioned, they do a newsletter. It's not as fancy as a newsletter. Mine's just black and white and has some links, right? Okay, so the next thing I recommend is to go to courses if you can. So if you're not the first year seminar instructor for your majors, make sure you get in and guest lecture or go and introduce yourself. This will come in handy for you as you get closer to registration. So some of us teach the first year seminar, and that's awesome. If you do, then maybe bring in a guest speaker around registration time to talk about the pitfalls of registration and some things that they might experience there as they're going through. We also, in our department, will do lower division course visits. So 100, 200 level classes, we will go and visit and introduce ourselves and just say, hey, my name is so-and-so. Here's what our majors look like. I'll try and take student ambassadors with me to talk about their experiences in the major. And I always open my door to anybody that's in those classes and just say, if you've got a question or you can't find an answer, come see me and we'll make sure we get you to the right place. I do not advise them, just FYI. I don't. I will send them to their advisor for advising questions. But it could be something as simple as I can't find my class. So then they've got a face to come and say, okay, where's my class at? All right. So the next thing that we do as a department is have departmental ambassadors at the undergraduate level. We have an application process. They go through that, and we've taken everybody that's applied. So we have about 8. They can be used for note card campaigns, call campaigns, departmental tours, welcoming first-year majors, etc. Some other tips that I have for you are show up for training. Any kind of training that pertains to advising, if you have the time, please go, because that helps you keep up with policy. We don't always get policy information down at our level, so it's always a good thing to go and hear those things for yourself. Make sure you give good referrals. So if a student is struggling, for instance, I had a student come in the other day and she had some life struggles. So just, personal issue, not money or not anything like that, but just, friendship stuff. So we walked over and saw our campus, one of our service dogs on campus. So we sat there and petted the dog for a little bit. So make sure you give them good referrals. Another thing that's easy to do is volunteer at events around campus. So that might be something, like we have an Ask Us Anything tent during the first week of class, or how to find your classes. So I try and do that and get out as much as I can. Another thing is to be responsive to your emails, 2 business days max. Encourage students to search for their own answers in a very kind way. I usually say, hey, I Googled this and this is what I found. So to try and give them that learning experience. And if they invite you to events, so say for instance, they're on a club sport, or they're doing a presentation, or their capstone, they have a talk, and they invite you, go. If at all possible, go. Okay, that's my toolkit, and I will again share that at the end of the presentation, and it'll be on the website as well.
All right, Tara, thank you for that. I am Heather Brooks from the Honors College at Marshall, and Megan and I submitted a proposal together, and Tara submitted one that was similar, and that is why we're grouped together today. So this has been a really cool experience for us. We didn't know Tara before this was presented to us as to speak with you today as a team. So it's been really fun. We've collaborated over the past month. And so thank you so much, Tara, for sharing your toolkit. I am going to speak in more in detail about Disarm, the first tenet of appreciative advising, where of course we aim to establish trust and begin building our rapport so that our advising interactions are productive and meaningful. And Tara, thanks so much for kicking it off. I really appreciate it. Okay, so I am going to talk about my personal lens that I have brought into my advising practice. This has helped me build trust, foster engagement, and create a more inclusive advising space. And my thesis is really simple. I get to lean into my personal hobbies, and I've developed an interdisciplinary approach to advising that enhances the disarm phase. And this truly does support my own well-being as a professional. So historically, of course, has been considered viewed as very transactional. And of course, there's a great deal of value in that. But I've been in higher ed, this is my 25th year. And I believe that although not all of that has been in advising, I primarily have worked in the admissions office, but I have seen advising evolve into a vital soft skill profession within higher education. And I think some of the presenters already this morning have been talking about some of those soft skills. If you think about it in your college, which group of professionals excels in communication, creativity, critical thinking, adaptability, and emotional intelligence? Lacey was just talking about that. Chances are, when you consider all of these soft skills, more than likely, advising professionals came to mind. And as institutions do shift to a more holistic focus on student needs, we advisors are the talent and personalities driving that change. The transactional work is, of course, very important, but I think that we're very deeply embedded in student success, and gone are the days of being dropped off at your freshman dorm with just your shower caddy, which was kind of my experience back in the day. In my role as the academic advisor for the Honors College, I get to work with students from every major. So having broad interests actually really helps me connect with such a diverse group. We have over 600 students in the Honors College, and getting to talk about my interests while meeting with these students and building rapport is really fun. We have interdisciplinary seminars that we offer at the 400 level for the Honors College students. And currently we're offering one called the Creative Act, which is about the music producer, Rick Rubin, wrote this book. And I was talking with one of my advisees about potentially taking this class in the future. And we actually, since we were talking about Rick Rubin, we started talking about all kinds of different musical genres, and which led to a conversation about, vinyl versus digital recordings. So that was, yes, we were talking about the course, but we got to both, delve into something that is meaningful to us. And, we do incorporate music into some of our advising wellness programming, but music is incredibly powerful as a tool in our space. And we can use it to discuss playlists for decompression for us or for our students. But it just really opens up wonderful conversations for expression, mental health, and self-care. And, we're creating important moments of connection. So thank you for putting the HerdCon slide up. I am a pop culture enthusiast. I am cosplaying there as Nadia from What We Do in the Shadows. I love science fiction, fantasy, music, and I'm deeply involved in our HerdCon Comic-Con at Marshall. And this started out of the library. That photo below me is my sister, Dr. Monica Brooks, who is a graduate of WVU English department. And this is really a labor of love to, create and produce this HerdCon or, Comic-Con every year. But, these aren't just our hobbies. These are our bridges that enable us to connect with students across disciplines, backgrounds, and identities. So when I'm referencing, any music that I love, works of art, Lord of the Rings, Dune, Thor, so many different touch points that I can connect with students. This isn't just about small talk. I mean, yes, I love talking about all of these, art forms, but it's not small talk. This is an invitation to meet students in a shared cultural space where they have the opportunity to feel seen. And these stories are all about the hero's journey. These stories are exploring themes of resilience, identity, and transformation, which is very much mirroring the student journey for our young folks that we're working with. And this helps us to spark meaningful conversations. So HerdCon is a perfect example of interdisciplinary engagement. We're bringing together art, literature, media, psychology, even business. Certainly, there's absolutely a business aspect. It's not just about, geeking out about comic books. There's absolutely a business aspect to this. And I do use this programming as a touch point to show students how they can connect their passions with their academic and career pathways. It's a space where students feel seen, or feel safe rather, expressing themselves. And that is something that is very important to replicate in advising sessions, I feel. This approach is wonderful for me. I'm bringing my passions into my work. This helps to keep me energized and authentic. It's really something that I do so that I will not get burned out and I can show up fully for my students. I think it's more creative and collaborative as an experience, not just a checklist. And what we do is, everything that we do is about emotional labor, right? And so that is a very real kind of energy output. And aligning your passions and joy together, aligning that is really ideal if you're comfortable doing that. I really do very much love what I do, but I do need inspiration. A lot of our work can be repetitious. Absolutely. It's new to the person that's hearing it for the first time. But for me, I'm doing this because it does make it more interesting for me. And I'm a product of the Ohio County. I'm from Wheeling originally, and I had such a wonderful experience in school there. And I am a Marshall graduate. And when thinking about all of my teachers, coaches, mentors, band directors, they all captivated me because they loved what they were doing so much, and they had such a genuine interest and enthusiasm for their disciplines. And that's why I'm leaning into my hobbies, because that was so compelling for me as a young person that I feel that that's really important to incorporate that into everything that I do. Um, I'm not just disarming, I'm inviting. And I want my students to be comfortable, to be curious and connected. And I am modeling an advising approach that is not only relational and interdisciplinary, but also sustainable and deeply human. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to my friend, Megan Russell.
All right. Heather and I just basically kind of fell into this presentation, and we are so happy that we got to meet Tara. And I'm going to be perfectly honest, most of the hour-long meetings, 45 minutes were just us geeking out and connecting. So I'm really happy that we have this opportunity. But I'm going to wrap up our presentation today with what initially brought us all together, which was authenticity in advising. And so take a moment and ask yourself, like, when was the last time you were really seen in a conversation? And I'm not talking about just heard, but like, when did you feel understood and valued and connected? So as academic advisors, we focus a lot on policies, on deadlines, on degree plans, on all of the administrative things that we have to do. But honestly, beneath all of that structure is the thing that I feel like and that we felt like together is far more powerful, and that's connecting together, as humans. And so today, I hope that our presentation and what I'm going to talk about can show how those personal interests and authenticity can be that bridge that brings us closer to our students, but also to each other. And so, with the power of authenticity, it's not just a buzzword. It's really the foundation of trust. So, according to Francis Frey and Anne Morris, trust is built on three things. It's built on that authenticity, on logic, and on empathy. So, when we show up to work or at home or wherever we are as our real selves, we are basically opening the door and inviting others to do the same. Brene Brown's Braving framework also echoes this. So she talks about other elements of trust. So things like boundaries and reliability and accountability, integrity, generosity. And these are all things that I see in my advising practice, but also in the advising practice of others. And so with those, authenticity really just means being honest about who we are, not just as professionals, but also as people. It's sharing what excites us. It's talking about what challenges us, what we care about. And when we do that, the students respond, right? So they lean in, they open up. And like Heather said, they feel safe because they don't always just want that information. Sometimes they really are just looking for somebody to connect with. Um, so using connection as a growth catalyst, relational culture theory talks to us about humans growing through relationships that foster mutual empathy and also empowerment. So in advising, like Heather said, this means moving beyond that transaction and into more transformational spaces. So I'm gonna fly through this because we're getting towards the end of ours. But so when students feel like they're connected to their advisor, they persist, they seek help, and they normally have more confidence. And sharing those interests, like we've all shared so far, really kind of helps them be comfortable in that space. And so for me, what that looks like is where my passion meets my practice. So as you all know, at Marshall, we have a ton of things that we do as advisors. And so when we were looking for new ways to connect with one another, one of the things that I brought to the table was an advisor book club. And everybody's like, oh God, do I want to do more reading? Like I'm already working all day. But honestly, as somebody who is an avid reader, and when I say avid, I'm going to borrow from Parks and Rec here and say, I think you are misunderstanding how much bacon I want. I want all the bacon. I want all the books. So I normally read about 150 books per year, and that's outside of work and that's outside of all the other things. But so reading is a huge part of my life. And so I wanted to bring that to other people as a mechanism to connect. So we meet once a month. We chose a book. We really started out thinking that it was just going to be talking about like our advising philosophies and different things with work. But what happened kind of surprised me. And we've started connecting on personal levels, talking about personal wins, struggles, challenges, different things. And it's really made us closer as advisors and helped that network. So it wasn't just a bridge for students, but it was a bridge for us as advisors as well. So I'm going to end with some practical takeaways on my part. Be intentional about who you are. Share your interests in a natural way, not in a forced way. Model that curiosity. Like I said, ask students what excites them and show them what excites you. Create those shared spaces, whether that's a book club, a herd con, a knitting circle. Do things that make you happy and that show your students and your coworkers who you are. And also reflect often. Authenticity is a practice in self-care. When we get to be who we are, it really helps us guide students, not from a top-down perspective, but by walking beside of them. So I think that leaves us like 2 minutes for questions. So our contact information is here. It's also on the website. Well, mine's not because I'm a last minute Larry and didn't get it in time. But my contact information's here. And then we also have our references, and we'll make sure that you all get all of this as well. So does anybody have any questions for us?
Go ahead, Brennan.
Hi. So one, I absolutely love this, and I thought some of the gems, I think Joy, you comment on it, a couple of them, like phrasings were amazing, fantastic.
Thank you.
So thank you for that. I'm curious how, like in these meetings and things like that with students, you balance talking about hobbies, connecting with them, using this authenticity, and still getting to career readiness goals, graduate school applications. How do we go through these things, tracking course progress, the meat of an advising meeting, and don't get derailed by let's connect and hobbies and that sort of stuff.
Heather, do you want to take that? Because I know that boundaries was one of your big things.
Yes, when we were meeting, talking about our presentation, we thought for sure that people would be curious about boundaries because, I obviously did theater and speech and, this is very natural for me, but the business comes first, right? This is about, seizing those moments when you can connect it, obviously all of the necessary work that needs to be done, that is not overshadowed. I think for me, it really particularly works for me because I meet with so many different majors. And so that's why this approach works for me. But yeah, we're still very much, using the technology. I'm also on the advising council, which has been incredibly helpful for me. Like the work comes first, but this is definitely integrated into it. That's not really a precise answer to your question, only to assure you that the quality, we definitely don't want the quality of our advising to suffer because we are putting energy into these other things, and it's not always going to be like, it's going to look different for everyone.
Well, and for me, sometimes that disarm is, a quick how's the weather situation because we don't really have anything to chat about yet. But I make sure that my office is fully decorated. Students come in, they can sit down, they can pick up this fun little pill squeezy thing, this stress ball. But some students just want that business. They want to get in, they want to get out and get done. But then there's others that are really looking for that connection. And so I think that's in getting to know your students and knowing that some of them they're not really looking for that, but others are looking for that connection and that ability to work together. But yeah, business has got to come first.